Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob. He's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Joe, how's it going? How was your weekend? The Reds have almost escaped the West Coast trip.
They stayed in it. That's what we wanted at this point. You know, this was a week that we feared with just playing teams that maybe weren't the best of the best, since we struggle with those teams. And hey, they hung in it. Would have expected them to do better. They made plenty of mistakes that we'll talk about here in a second. But Rob, more importantly, what's that Ellie De La Cruz thing in your background? I don't know what that is.
Okay. So my dad found this for me, but this is a Dayton Dragons Ellie De La Cruz bobblehead from many, many years ago, and he found this at the flea market. So shout out to my dad for getting me this one. This will be a part of my permanent collection now. I missed out on the Ellie bobblehead this year, which I definitely wanted. So he happened to be looking for me. Kind man that he is. He grabbed that one for me and gave it to me, I think, last week. So I was like, I need to get this on the show.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, good on your dad getting you that bobblehead. I'm sure it'll be worth a lot of money down the road, but also a nice keepsake. But yeah, no, week was good. I'm excited to talk some Reds baseball, though.
Yeah, me too. And there's quite a bit to discuss today. We'll start, as always, with the question of the day. We'll get to that here in a second. We'll discuss the games this week. Injury updates. There are a few, good and bad. We'll talk about a six-man rotation, Joe, whether or not that should be it. And that's the question of the day. Do you guys believe the Reds should go to a six-man rotation with Martinez and Littell both staying in the rotation as people start to come back? And then we will also discuss, what do the Reds have to do in your mind to get over the hump? Lastly, we'll go Dodgers and Cardinals this week. It's going to be an interesting one, Joe, to say the least. But let's hop into it here and get in to last week's action. Before we do, make sure you guys like and subscribe. We see a few of you starting to do that a little bit more. Join us here at Reds Rundown at the Game House. We would love to have you, and we love any comments, questions, thoughts that you have about this Reds team. Joe and I will do our best to answer them. All right. The Reds went to the West Coast, and they started in Los Angeles, not against the Dodgers, but against the Angels. And it was a 4-1 win to start off. Brady Singer continued to go on an absolute tear this week, and this was the first game of that. 6 hits in 6 innings, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 4 Ks. Connor Phillips looked great coming out of the bullpen for them in this one. He did have a walk and hit, but he struck out 2. Luis May hit, walk. They had to pull him. Scott Barlow came in, got the 4-out save, which was big. And this is when Brian Hayes started to, or nope, this one's Austin Hayes. God, I'm going to keep getting those wrong. But actually, both of them, they both had triples in this game. Ellie did as well. Gavin Lux had a 2-run home run to start off. It was a little slow for the Reds, Joe. I will admit, I was a little worried. They were only up 2-1 early on. They would play tag on later in the game, but they mostly took care of it. It was a good start to the trip for them. They would then head into the next game here, and it was a 6-4 victory for our Redlegs. Noelvi Marte with a big home run. Andujar came up huge, 3 hits, 2 RBIs in this game. Marte with 2 hits, 2 RBIs as well. But the story was Hunter Greene. He started to falter a little bit there. Obviously, later on in the game, he gave up 1 run, as the Reds' starting pitching seemingly does, and then they kind of hunkered down. It was that 7th inning that got to him a little bit, partially because of Graham Ashcraft. But Greene would go 6 in the third, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 12 strikeouts, Joe, which was pretty awesome. Luis May would come in, give up another run, but would get the win technically. Santillan would nail it down for a save. And things were looking great for the Reds. Then we would head into the Wednesday game, and this one was a bit of a bummer, to say the least. The Reds would get on the board early in the 3rd inning. Noelvi Marte would drive in. Who was it? Brian Hayes here, who, again, has really started hitting well. Nick Martinez was excellent. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 Ks. Graham Ashcraft would come in again, though, and would give up the lead in this one. Unfortunately, Kikuchi was tough for them. The Reds really struggled, other than giving up the Moncada home run, which really didn't look like it was a home run off the bat, honestly. It was kind of an impressive swing from him, which is something that you occasionally see. Other than that, Reds pitching was pretty solid in this one. It was a bummer. You really would have liked to see the bats get a couple more hits with runners in scoring position. They were 2 for 10 in this game, which was just not going to cut it. Literally one more hit probably would have won them the game. But they were unable to do that, and they were unable to escape Los Angeles with a sweep. Joe, this one was fine. I think the Reds, for the most part, took care of business. Starting pitching, I think, did a great job. As always, when you can hold a team to 6 runs across 3 games, two runs a game essentially by average, I think that's pretty much all you can expect. I know Ashcraft is starting to fall off a little bit. I know a lot of people are mad at him. I think part of it is just overuse. I mean, he's really not been used in this sort of capacity in a while. I know people don't love his stuff, but I think he's got enough. He's going to have to get a third pitch during this offseason, Joe, if he's going to want to stick in the bullpen, I believe. Maybe even like a literal four-seam fastball might be enough for him to be a little bit better. But I don't know, Joe. Like it really felt like they should have came out of this with 3 wins, but at least getting the 2 I thought was important to start off the road trip.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point about Graham Ashcraft, I still don't want him used in high leverage situations, but you see Terry the last couple of weeks kind of like trying to give his guys who have a lot of appearances a break. So we've seen like Scott Barlow where he's like, you're not pitching. We've seen Tony Santillan's like, hey, you're not pitching these next 2 days. And some other guys some reps. So like you kind of have to do that at times. I kind of like the bullpen management because guess what? We have a couple of the next Thursdays off, but otherwise, like, we need these guys almost every day if we're going to be in close games. So, and our offense just isn't consistent enough where we can have enough blowouts where we don't need these guys. So, to your point, I'm fine with Graham Ashcraft. Just maybe situations he's used in might be something that would change. You're right. The starting pitching has been incredible. Saw this, if everyone looks at the stats since the All-Star break, we probably should have a better record than we do with the starting pitching stats. The bullpen was pretty good in this series overall, I think. Luck's got a home run. He's staying hot. Andrew Har got a home run in this one. He stayed hot through this series. Game 3 was kind of the same old, like, hey, our offense will look really good, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, where is it? And that was really frustrating. But overall, good series, as you said. There were a couple things to point out from the series as a whole. Brian Hayes' defense, the Angels broadcast was going nuts about it, and he had some really, really good plays, so just providing a lot of value with not being a huge hitter. And then J.R. House quite possibly made the dumbest decision I've ever seen a third base coach make sending Will Benson home on a ball to right field, and he was thrown out pretty easily. But he's not had the best season either, and I think if we're going to hold the players accountable for base running mistakes, he needs to be held accountable too. It's a tough job because if you get one wrong, you're going to get piled up on, but he's made a couple wrong this year that I think he needs to lock into. If we're going to start criticizing the players, then he needs to be criticized as well. So just let's all lock in, let's all get better, and let's see what we can do here, because that is something with some of our errors and everything else in the Diamondback series. We didn't really play clean baseball this week, and I think we could have won 4 to 5 games if we had just kind of cleaned up the errors, and that includes coaching sometimes.
Yeah, I think, for House, real quick, by the way, he is known to be a very good catching coach, so obviously not somebody who I would say you need to get rid of, but maybe you replace him at third base with somebody else. I don't really know who it would be, honestly. Cal Gill has done, I think, a pretty good job over there at first base, so maybe you would look at him. I believe he's the running coordinator for the team as well, so maybe that's something that you would look at. He'd have maybe a better instinct there. Maybe you even literally just flip-flop them, honestly. That could be something that you could do if you needed to, but, like you said, he has to lock in. You can't be in that position in a game and then have, because the Reds should have probably been in a better position, than they were. I've forgotten that second game. They won it in the 9th, right? Like, that game got close. They had to put up runs. They should have put up more runs. They ran themselves out of some big situations here. So, luckily Santillan nailed it down. Luckily the Reds were able to, get it done overall. But it's tough out there when your third base coach, and he's human. Hit my mic. He's human. He's gonna make mistakes without a doubt. But we got to try to limit him, just really, especially in those big situations. He's got to just read the situation and maybe be a tiny bit less risky, especially when you have the lead already, right? It's not like they were trying to get the lead again. Like you have it already. Play for more runs. You don't need just that one run.
Yeah, I think that's the key there is that like I was sitting there like on the edge of my seat because Joe Adele for the Angels already had 2 home runs in that game, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, 2 runs may not be enough going into this ninth. Guy, I was on the edge of my seat thinking, oh God, we really need to shut this down. And they were fortunate to be able to win, so it didn't end up really mattering in the end. But it is something where I think this was a sloppy week of baseball, and we got 3 wins, and I'm happy to have 3 wins, but we do need to. As we're making this playoff push, we're still 1.5 games out. We need to start cleaning those up and getting some more wins. But still very like happy with the series overall, and I think in a good spot to make that push for the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And make sure we'll talk about a couple hitters. I want to talk about Marte and Key Brian Hayes here, Joe, once we get to it. But we'll move on because I think this Diamondback series is the one that both of us are dreading, but also we probably just need to talk about. So let's get into it. Game 1. What's really sad here is the Reds really, really battled in this one. The Diamondbacks got out to a relatively early lead. They were up 3-2 in this game in the 3rd inning. Littell, they pulled him. They just thought he didn't have it. So instead of keeping him in there after he gave up the home run to Moreno, they went to Mole, Phillips, Suter, Santillan, Pagan. They all got it done. Of course, this was just like the worst possible week for our boy Ashcraft. But he did get the blown save. In this one, Barlow would unfortunately get the loss. The Reds would lose 6-5. Ryan Nelson pitched a pretty good game, but it felt like the Reds had opportunities. Again, 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Not really the best spot you want to be in. They had runners on base early, and they were unable to get them in. It was a bit of a bummer because it really, really felt like they could have and should have won this game, Joe. But with like awesome plays throughout most of this lineup, they just kind of faltered there at the end. It was a little confusing to not see Andujar in here as much for this series. I don't know if he's maybe dealing with some fatigue because he's not used to playing as many games in a row as the Reds were having him play, but it was something worth noting that my dad and I were talking about yesterday. The next one was just an absolute blowout. The Reds did nothing. For some reason, Jalen, I think is it Jordan or Jalen Beeks? I can't remember which one it is. And then Chris Matt was weirdly just very good. The Reds could not figure him out. He's just a lot slower. And the Reds, I think it was the Cowboy who was specifically stating, like, part of this issue is that when you see a slower pitcher, you just try to crush the ball. I can tell you from experience, even in high school baseball, that's what you do. So they just should have waited back on it, tried to drive the ball the other way, allow it to kind of come to them in a different area, and the Reds were just pressing too much. And along with this, Andrew Abbott, the biggest story, had his worst outing of the season, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 6 Ks, 2 big home runs. That was kind of the nail in the coffin for him. Big Sugar came in, though. Zach Maxwell had a nice little bit there. He did give up the home run early on, but he kind of settled in for 2 innings. He only gave up 2 hits, no walks, which that's his big thing. He's either walking guys or striking guys out, and in this one, he was striking guys out. 5 Ks of the 6 batters that he faced. Brent Suter would come in and get roughed up a little bit as well. But Diamondbacks would win 10-1, and we were looking at the Sunday game, and all of us, Joe, and I do mean all of us, were sitting there sweating this one out. The Reds would go down 1-0 early on. Brady Singer would give up the triple to Perdomo. Perdomo would unfortunately score, but he would lock in after that. 3 walks. The only hit he gave up was the very first batter of the game. 9 strikeouts. Ashcraft redeemed himself. He kept himself in the game. He would ultimately get the win. 1 inning, 1 strikeout. Santillan and then Pagan would come in as well. The Reds were not messing around with this one because they would put up 5 in the 8th with a big home run by Spencer Steer to start it off. Noelvi Marte as well with a huge triple to get them off the schneid with a Little League home run after the ball hit him in the foot. And it felt like the dam just broke open because Zach Gallen was excellent yesterday. He looked kind of like his old self. And the Reds would escape Arizona with a win. They're still 5 games above 500, Joe. They are a game and a half out still because the Mets seemingly just cannot capitalize on the Reds' mistakes that they've had recently. The big stories here, though, Joe, were untimely errors. They were, I think, just general lacks of patience. And it reminded me of what it was early in the season when this team was really stressing to try to get runs. And what my big problem I'm having right now is you have to find a way to slow the game down, right? Because if you get to the playoffs and you're pressing for runs, you're not going to win those games, right? You have to just allow the game to come to you, stay within yourself, and play the game the way that you know how to. This Reds team are learning a lot about the stresses of going down a playoff race right now, going down this run here. But it has been really frustrating. I know they still have like 30 some odd games left to play, right? But this is crunch time. Every single mistake that you make is going to probably matter. I think the Reds kind of got bailed out because this was a really, really sloppy game from them. And they are very lucky that Brady Singer has just absolutely shown up. I don't know what he is doing right now necessarily mentally, because I think his stuff is kind of the same, but he is just absolutely locked in. And I guess quick shout out, by the way, to Will Banfield, who had to come up and catch a really important game and apparently was awesome behind the plate. He looks like he can't hit a lick, but he might be a pretty good defender. So that's at least my starting thoughts on this series, Joe.
Yeah, you're right. The offense scares me in the sense that, like, overall it scares me because it's so inconsistent, but also it just has me having flashbacks if we do make the playoffs of, like, getting no hit by the Phillies, getting what was that game against the Braves during the COVID year where we couldn't get a hit for the longest time,
hits,
and it was the worst baseball game of all time, probably. So yeah, it definitely has those type of vibes to this team where we're gonna like maybe finish the season on a hot streak, maybe make the playoffs, and then we're gonna put up a 0 on the scoreboard in the playoffs, and that will be very frustrating. Yeah, overall, frustrating series. I think winning that first game, something that definitely should have happened. But to give some credit, everyone talks about whether Ellie is clutch or not, especially on Twitter if you're on there. Clutch hit in the 8th. He got tied the game up with a single, scored Andujar. I think that does need to be said. Not every single clutch hit, mostly
Happens
comes in the 7th, 8th, or 9th innings. Yeah, but not every time is it in the 9th inning. Not every time is it, like get a walk-off hit. It's good that he's getting experience doing that. In that game, there was a chance to pinch run for Jose Trevino. Terry Francona didn't want to do that because he didn't want Will Banfield to make his MLB debut in the bottom of the 11th at that point. Which makes sense. Like it's not like a regular extra innings anymore. You have a runner on second base to start. That's a lot of pressure for a catcher in his first major league appearance.
Yep.
He's coming in to just be a defensive replacement. He's not going to get in a bat, and you don't even know if this guy's going to be locked in and ready to go for an 11th inning game in Arizona after just coming up a couple days ago or whatever. So I'm with Terry on that one. A lot of people didn't like it and think that maybe cost him the series, but like I'm with them. I think that was the right move, and maybe J.R. House doesn't send him. Maybe there's something else we do there, but I don't really criticize that decision from J.R. House either. It didn't work out. That's how it worked. Yep. Yeah, you're right. Abbott seems like having some rough starts in the last couple. Some good starts too, but like I'm kind of worried about his inconsistencies down the stretch, and just that he hasn't gone this far in the season very much. And yeah, Marte's second Little League homer of the year that you mentioned, Rob. I mean, it's kind of crazy it's happened twice in one year, because it's not like he is like he's a pretty fast guy, but like it's kind of crazy that the same guy got 2 Little League home runs in the same year within the span of a couple weeks too. So it's like what's that quote, like if I had a nickel for every time Noah Marte had a Little League home run, I'd have 2 nickels, and it's whatever. But it's crazy that it's coincidental that happened to him twice. But yeah, no, it was I'd say frustrating series. I think Friday is one of those games where we're looking back again. I'm sure we'll all look back on the season and be like, we should have won that game. We blew that game. That game, we had that in the bag, and then we lost it. That's one of the ones where I think we would have been like, we would have loved to win that one. Although I do agree with Terry's decision not to put in Will Banfield. I think the team could have handled business a little bit better and gotten the job done. And it was just sloppy week. I think the Reds are lucky to come out with 3 wins, 3-3, and stay in the race. You're right. The Mets aren't taking advantage. And we'll see. I mean, we have I think a very tough week this week, considering at LA, and then we come home and get one off day and play the Cardinals. And the Cardinals aren't the best team; they're under 500 right now. But like we struggle with them. They're another division team we struggle with. So we'll see what we can do. I think this week is going to be important to see, especially this Dodgers series, see what we have. And there's not a lot of confidence after how the team played this week, but they're the team that most plays up and down to the competition. So maybe there is some reason to be confident.
Yeah, this has been interesting because like everybody's questioning Terry. Like I think what he did was the right move in the moment. At the same time, you do want to play to win, right? And so it's tough because I think Trevino's done enough to where you're feeling comfortable, but he's coming off of playing so many games back to back. It's a tough decision. Like that is not, and that's what you pay him the big bucks for. I think ultimately he made the better decision, but I do think that, I mean, I don't know. I think you could have been a little more aggressive there and just kind of dealt with it later. And I think there are some managers who would do that, and I think Terry in the right situations will do that, but he did not this time, and that's okay. My bigger issue right now, Joe, is we have a few guys who have not hit in like over a month. Like Steer kind of got off the schneid, which is good, but like, Friedel really hasn't hit much in a while. I don't remember the last time Elly De La Cruz had a home run. It might have been in July. Might have been sometime in early July, I think, against the Dodgers, potentially. So, like, like basically since the All-Star break, I don't know if Elly has a home run. Austin Hayes, again, up until yesterday, he had been just on an incredible slide as well. What I'm hoping is that this is the last little lull for this offense, and that they will all start to pick up, because without Noel V. Marte, without Miguel Andujar, without Ke'Bryan Hayes, and a little bit without Lux as well when he does play, right? I think this team would be 3 or 4 games under 500. I mean, they are getting carried. Like, some of our best players are getting carried by the 2 additions that Krall made. Everybody go out and at least apologize to Krall a little bit. And then, by Marte. I mean, he's been unbelievable. At this point, personally, Joe, I told my dad this. If Elly can't hit for power, which is fine, why not move Marte to 3 and Elly to 2? Like, really, why not? I'm not a huge lineup questioner. I have not done it much this season. But at this point, like, unless if they're really worried about Elly's ego, right? The way Marte is hitting the ball, wouldn't you love to have Elly De La Cruz in front of him, like, pretty consistently? Right? I guess you could move Marte to the 4, but I don't know. I mean, it's like, if Friedel gets on, the way Elly is swinging right now, which is a lot of contact, which is really incredible when you look at it, right? When you look at, let me bring it up here. Elly's strikeout numbers are down significantly this year. Joe, his rookie campaign, 98 games, 388 at-bats, 144 strikeouts. He's got 509 at-bats in 131 games this year and 143 strikeouts. He is 75 strikeouts off of what he was last season in 618 at-bats. So essentially 110 at-bats, he'd have to strike out another 75 times to catch up to what he did last season. So, I mean, I think we are watching the evolution of a player who will be a top 5 hitter in the next 2 or 3 years. I think he will take those next steps to bring the power back, all that kind of stuff, right? But right now, while he is kind of learning how to walk more, while he is learning how to swing at better pitches, take, a lot more of those pitches that he wasn't taking before, I would be fine with him being up there at the 2 and Marte being behind him, because it seems like Marte might be that power hitter right now. I mean, if you're telling me that Friedel, Elly, Marte, Hayes, Andujar, and then Hayes, like, if you have those 5 in a row and you're going to tell me you can't score runs, I don't know. I mean, something else is going on. So, personally, I would like to see something like that. I'm not going to question it too much, but it was a thought that I had where I'm like, this would allow him as well to steal more bases, because then they're not as clogged, right? He's able to do things a little bit better. So, I don't know. I wanted to throw that one out there to you just because it feels like something worth watching for as we move through the last half or third, essentially, of this season.
Yeah, he has one home run since July 1st, and
Yeah.
that's crazy for someone of his power and his athleticism. Anything you might know, I think his home run before that was like on June 22nd. I'm just looking up right now. Um, it's crazy. I don't mind him staying in the three spot, but I do have like I feel like there are a little bit of like lineup changes that can be made, but it is
Yep.
very tough when the offense isn't consistent and one guy will have a hot week and then you move him up in the lineup and then he plays badly. I think Marte, they moved him from, was it 5 to 2? One of the games last week, I forget which one, and then he had a bad game in that game where he's batting second, I believe. I could be wrong about that,
I mean, he batted
but
second yesterday and had 2 hits.
it was the first time he batted second. I don't know what it was, but
Yesterday or the day before, he was 0 for 3. Let me see.
I don't know what it was. I think it was early in the week, but either way, it is tough to do that, especially. I think the bigger issue here is you do have like half the team not hitting and half the team hitting,
Mm-hmm.
and then you move the lineup, and then it seems to flip. Um, and I think this gets to the point where baseball is a complementary sport. So I do like Ellie batting possibly two, moving up Marte, keeping Hayes or Andujar, whoever at cleanup, whoever's playing that day or whatever. But it's like one of those things where um, I think Ellie has been the best player by far on our
Mm-hmm.
team. Usually those guys hit third. But to be honest, I don't. I think he might be a big problem in this offense because he is batting third right now. He is not on pace for 100 RBIs. He is not on pace for 30 home runs. His batting average is 275, which is, second best on the team for people who qualify to Gavin Lux. But you kind of look at it, and it's like it's not that like other people aren't getting on base in front of him all the time. I think sometimes that's definitely the case. But we have guys who bat in front of him sometimes, like Gavin Lux, other people who have higher batting averages. TJ Friedel too, like a decently. I mean, like I said, he's struggling now, but decently high batting average. I don't know how Ellie's leading the team in runs. I get he's like great on the base paths,
Mm-hmm.
but he needs to be the one knocking those guys in. We talk about like how WAR is a cumulative stat and like runs scored means something for that. There's plenty of guys who hit for contact who, I don't think they're the fastest on the base paths, but like guys like Gavin Lux who he only has 39 runs scored all year. That doesn't make sense. Like that is a big problem. And people behind and Lux is batted fifth for a lot of the season, so it's not all on Ellie, but like people behind him haven't hit him in. So I do think the structuring of the lineup could be better. I don't know what the exact solution is. Marte batting third and Ellie to second is one possible one that could work. But like I think we hit all our contact hitters, the guys who are hitting the ball just for contact, not for power. Their WARs are way down, and Matt McClain as well because he's hit for power as much the last several months. Santiago Espinal when he's in there, they're not scoring runs, and the guys behind them are not knocking them in. And I think it's just because we have Hayes slumping, we have Ellie not hitting for power. Andujar's been great since he's been here, but obviously, like you said, only 6 at bats in the Diamondback series. So it is like one of those things where baseball is a team game, and like Ellie's doing a good job for himself and getting contact. I do think it's good for his development as a hitter that he's striking out less and getting more contact. But at a certain point, when your guys are on base, you have to knock them in because not only is it going to help the team, it's going to help their stats too. Because I think, you know, Kevin Luck's defense definitely has brought down his WAR. He's batting 277 with a negative zero point 0.1 WAR. I'm not sure the defense has brought it down that much. I think part of it is he just hasn't scored runs as many as you would think. So that's my big thing is like, I think your solution is fine, to try and see if it works. But at the end of the day, we just need to start knocking these runners in. It can't just be Ellie and TJ Friedel scoring all the runs, and we can't have like Steer batting 236 and Matt McClain batting 221. So I have in the lineup at this point of the season. Gavin Lux's defense is terrible. I get it. Austin Hayes is struggling right now. I'd rather have those guys higher in the lineup right now because at least they've shown this season that they are better hitters. For the most part. So that's what I'm saying. I'm with you that the lineup needs to be shook up. I don't know if there's an exact concrete answer. But I do think we need more out of Ellie, and that's crazy to say something from a guy with a 3.6 WAR. But you just would have expected him to hit more home runs this year. You would have expected him to be up near 100 RBIs as well. And people can get on base more for him, but I think when they are on base, he needs to take advantage more, and that'll help the team a lot as well. Because like we just are not very consistent offensively, and that is one of the things I've noticed over this past week. Is while he did have that clutch hit against the Diamondbacks, I do think we need to get people on base and just have Ellie just crush the ball and knock him in. That's what we have to do, or move him, like you said.
Yeah, and I think he's part of it is he's cut down on his power swing, right? Like again, you can literally see it. Like he is spraying the ball all over the place. He's becoming a better hitter. I want that to be very clear. this kid could have been batting like 230 with like 40 home runs this year, right? Like very realistically, but he is trying to do more as a hitter, not just for himself, but for the team. And I think that's fine, right? I think it's doing very well. We're not going to be, old man Marty Brenneman on here and being like, Joey Votto needs to hit more home runs and walk less. I'm not going to complain about a higher batting average and less strikeouts from Elly De La Cruz whatsoever. Like, he is developing into, again, he's not going to win an MVP this year. He will win an MVP in a Reds uniform. With what I am seeing, like, his progression as a hitter is unbelievable. Another guy's is Marte. So he went 4 for 12, by the way, from the second spot with a triple. He did bat still, I think, 5th in 2 other games this somewhere around there. But like, he only batted twice this week, or 3 times this week in the second position. One game he did go 0 for 3, but he had a walk, so not too bad, honestly. But the other ones he was 2 for 4 and 2 for 5, I think, something like that. So, but really, what we've seen, Joe, his last 30 games, this kid is 327. 17 RBIs, 4 home runs, 37 hits. He has just eclipsed 162 games played in his career. Now, obviously last year was, I think, a huge just mental struggle for him, but 30 doubles, 17 home runs, 73 RBIs, only 144 strikeouts to 27 walks, 22 stolen bases, and a 266 batting average. And that's, again, with a really, really awful year last year holding him back. They are starting to find out that this kid, he might be one of the top 2 hitters on this team, and that's saying a lot. Again, I think Elly is probably still number 1. Again, a lot of people probably question me for that. What I'm seeing out of Elly, the fact that he's a better right-handed hitter than he's ever been, the fact that he is just literally hitting the ball all over. Like yesterday, Joe, real quick, thing I noticed, I told my dad, I was like, he's down 0-2. Instead of him trying to take the ball to the right side, right, he's going to hit it over to the left, and he's going to try to get on base. What does he do the very next pitch? The third baseman was giving him that wide open spot. Elly sprays it right over there, gets on base right away. Right? Like, that's what he's doing to become a better hitter. Noelvi Marte is just seeing beach balls, and they should be moving him up. There's just no excuse at this point. He has to be in one of your top 4 spots, I think, at least until he either cools down or for the rest of the season. Because the fact that he's only played in 61 games and has 40 RBIs this year is absolutely ridiculous. Like, really and truly, this kid, if he had played a full 100-game season at the pace that he's at right now, he'd be 30 home runs, 30-something doubles, over 100 RBIs, and would still barely be striking out over 100 times. It's incredible. So I just wanted to give him his flowers. I'll talk about Ke'Bryan Hayes here in a second too, but I mean, what we are seeing from this young man, who is also the same age as Elly De La Cruz, as a quick reminder. They are still only 23, both of them. Boy, oh boy, like this is fun. This is good to see.
Yeah, and to your point, I know I've brought it up over several podcasts in the past, but I really do think this team should do what the Braves did, which was putting all of their good bats at the top of the lineup. It doesn't matter the order. If they want to bat Elly first, I don't care. If they want to bat Elly second, Marte third, whatever. But if these guys are in the lineup, they need to be batting in the top 5 or 6. It is Elly, it is TJ Friedl, it is Gavin Lux, it is Austin Hayes, it is Miguel Andujar, and it is Noelvi Marte. That is 6 players that they need to be in the top 5 or 6 if they're all playing somehow. They don't usually all play. But if they all play, they need to be in the top 5 or 6 every single time. I don't want to see Spencer Steer up there right now. I don't want to see Matt McClain up there right now. If they go up and get their average back up to above 250, and they're hitting home runs again, like, they have 20 home runs at this point. That gives Steer 4 more home runs and McClain's 9 more home runs. Then sure, maybe you think about moving them up. But make them prove it. Always put your best hitters first. I know there's new people who say that's not always the right case. I want my best players having the most at-bats, and those 6 guys out of everyone, even with Austin Hayes struggling and Gavin Lux not providing a lot of power, those 6 guys have been our best hitters this year for the most part. I would say that has to happen moving forward. And I think Terry's starting to adjust and starting to move Marte up, like you said, and moving Lux up, and we'll see how that goes. But that's always been my philosophy.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And the last one I'll point out here before we move on is a little shout out to Ke'Bryan Hayes, dude. since coming over to the Reds, 69 at-bats, nice, 19 hits, 5 doubles, so he has, half the doubles that he had all season in 300 more at-bats, by the way. A triple, 2 home runs, the same amount he's, again, had in 300 more at-bats. 6 RBIs, 7 walks is a big one, too. He only had 18 walks in 369 at-bats. 7 walks here, only 8 strikeouts as well. 275 batting average, 815 OPS. His launch angle has gone up, and Pirates fans are losing their minds. They are very upset. They were convinced he couldn't hit. It might have just been that he didn't really like the spot he was in Pittsburgh. And when you have your only other big bat in Pittsburgh, well, 2 at the time, were, Jack Sawinski and O'Neal Cruz, who, both are batting around or below 200. I think Sawinski's in like the 130s right now. That's what's going to happen, right? And so we're seeing that he is thriving in this new environment. He is playing out of his mind right now. And I know a lot of people are upset about Sal Stewart, getting playing time at third base and like all that kind of stuff. Ke'Bryan Hayes is probably not going anywhere. His defense is too good, and he might be one of the best 9 hitters in baseball at this point with the way that he is batting right now. So I just wanted to give him some flowers. He started off a little bit cold, but he's got a 298 batting average over his last 15 games, 47 at bats, and a 364 in his last 7 games, 8 for 22 with an RBI, 4 walks to 2 strikeouts during this time period. It's just been really impressive to watch for me personally, and it's really cool to see a guy kind of refinding himself. They always say sometimes that, like a change of scenery is what's needed for certain guys. And I think we're seeing that with Ke'Bryan Hayes. I don't expect him to be a 275 guy for the rest of his career in Cincinnati. If he can just bat 250, I will be totally fine with that. 240, 250, and provide the excellent defense that he does, I'll take that. So I wanted to give him a quick little shout out because I feel like we haven't done that much for him.
Yeah, he had that great Angel series where, like, if people tracked how many clutch plays someone makes or how many great defensive plays someone makes, he's definitely top of the list. I'm expecting him to get a Gold Glove this year. I hope they don't get I don't give it to someone who doesn't deserve it. But he's hit better, and I think not just the launch angle, but the swing speed has started to come back too. I think the more time he gets away from that injury, and the more time he feels comfortable in this lineup, and I think there's less pressure with the Reds because while our offense isn't consistent, we've talked about that. It's not like he's being asked to do a lot more like he was for the Pirates. So he definitely deserves a shout out. And going to be a key piece. And Sal Stewart's going to play second base unless Matt McClain gets it together long term. That's the plan now. Like it's moved, it's changed. There's a chance Sal Stewart can play first base and move Steer back out to the outfield if that's what people want to do. But right now the going plan I think is Sal Stewart second base, Matt McClain, figure it out, man, because there's no other spot for him.
Yeah, I think McClain might be a sell low trade candidate, unfortunately, this offseason, which would be a huge bummer because I think I really believe with McClain, and then we really can move on. I've looked, have you like the ESPN app, right? McClain and Steer are both coming off these shoulder injuries. And a lot of the time, especially if they're your front shoulder, right, being able to help get the bat through the zone at times can be a problem. Matt McClain, if I remember correctly, was generally a pretty good high ball hitter, right? Like, I think he was pretty solid against up fastballs. He has not gotten one hit in the upper third of the plate, of the strike zone, this entire season. Spencer Steer has like a 137 average against balls up in the zone this season, something like that. So I will say I think that they need an offseason of kind of regaining that strength again, all that kind of stuff, and I have a feeling they're going to hit again in the future. I think Matt McClain is a candidate to be a very good outfielder, personally, but somebody's going to have to move at some point because if Sal Stewart keeps hitting the way that he does, I don't know if there's any possible way you can keep it. And the only other way I can see it happening, Joe, is if they really just think McClain's defense is that good and they make Sal Stewart the first full-time DH in Reds history, and then they get him some, time in the field every so often. It's the only way I can see it in the future.
Yeah, long term for sure. Might be the move. Just we have too many guys who can't play defense right now, so we kind of need Sal Stewart. Not that he's known for his glove, we kind of need the glove.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I don't want. I think the thing is, I want either Matt McClain to be shut down for the year and totally recover from that shoulder, or because you're right, like pitchers have just pitch him up now. That's all they do to get him out,
Yep.
and can't hit it. So do that, or I want him to send down to AAA to play every day and figure the swing out, figure out how he's going to move forward from this point. I don't want him to. I don't want us to bring Sal Stewart up and Matt McClain play once every 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, I do not
I think that is the worst case scenario. I get it. He is the future. You keep Santiago Espinal on the team to be backup shortstop, backup second baseman, whatever you need. If Santiago Espinal sucks, we get rid of him in the offseason. Doesn't matter. If we have some way where we ruin Matt McClain by not playing him, that is worse than anything we can do for him right now. He needs to be in AAA or resting and getting ready for next season. Unless he can figure it out. Again, maybe he figures it out, but that is such a glaring weakness that he's had at the top of the zone. And you're right. Just everyone go watch the next game on an ESPN on the app, and you'll see everything on the percentages and the hot spots and the cold spots. It is awful. So, AAA, Louisville Bats, they play up until September 21st, regular season. I think, obviously, we expand the rosters. It's going to be very enticing to keep him on the roster as an extra guy when we do, hopefully, knock on wood, bring Sal Stewart up. But I almost think that's the worst thing for him. So I'm with you. It's so many glaring holes in his game right now. And as much as I do not want to give up on him long term, because I do think it takes some time to get back from these injuries, and I do appreciate what Spencer Steer's doing too. I mean, it's a little bit better than Matt McClain. He had some good stretches there, but he needs that time to get ready for next year. And if it is going down AAA low pressure situation, or if it is just sitting out, that just has to be the move. I know they're going to probably just expand the rosters. He's going to sit there and either keep on starting or sit on the bench, but I think that's the worst thing for him.
What's really impressive to me is that considering Spencer Steer has been injured this entire time, the difference between him and McClain is that he just hits with runners in scoring position. It is like he may not hit the rest of the season, but he will hit with runners in scoring position. The fact that he is second on the team with 62 RBIs, he's invaluable in my opinion, man. Like, I know that people are going to be down on him. Like, what's really sad is this year is going to be awesome. Like, really, I think we're going to have a lot of fun over these next 32 games. Like, we're going to have heart attacks. We're going to be really happy. And I'm not going to try to look forward too much. I'm really not. But the possibilities for the next couple seasons with these guys really finding themselves, right? Like, a non-injured Spencer Steer, a non-injured Matt McClain, because those were both relatively serious injuries, right? Ellie evolving as a hitter. I don't know. This offense has a very, very real possibility of being one of the best in baseball, along with one of the best pitching rotations in baseball as well. We are that close to that being a very real possibility right now, and so I'm just hopeful that the Reds will continue to allow these guys, like you said, to develop, because anybody willing to give up on Matt McClain, I want to give you a real quick look at his career. I know he had that excellent year, and everybody's going to point to that, but he is still a 253 batting average, 27 home runs, 90 RBIs, kind of a guy. So just give him a little bit of a break here. I think he's going to figure it out as the season goes on, and I think next year he's going to be, a stud again, and then when you add a Sal Stewart type player to a lineup like this already, dude, we are all going to be eating so good. We're going to kind of forget about, how rough some of these other things have been. So just.
Right. And one last point too. This is about when you have all these prospects, it is a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
You pull them up. You see what works. You don't give up on them if they have one injury like Matt McClain. He is getting to the age where you're like, hey, figure it out.
Yep.
But I'll give him next season to do that. If it's, hey, spring training, he doesn't look good next year, then we can have a conversation. But it is, hey, let's see how many of these top prospects work out. And Sal Stewart is now a part of that. He's coming up. Let's see if he works out. If he doesn't, then we'll send him back down. We'll figure it out. But that's how it works. We are totally out on Christian Encarnacion Strand as an organization now, right? He's been in AAA, he's batting 248, he has 8 home runs this year. Had some time with us as well where he didn't play well. So
yeah, that's
done. The thing is we tried him out, we gave him a shot, hopefully he figures it out for himself. But he's now what, a 25-year-old player, and just like Matt McClain is a 26-year-old player. Like, you're getting to the point where you have to figure it out, and if not, then we have to move on as an organization to figure that out. But I'm not saying I'm giving up on Matt McClain because he's had the injury, but that's just like how it works. So now it's time to bring Sal Stewart up. Maybe send Matt McClain down, let him work on it, let him figure it out, let him rehab, let him do whatever he needs to do. And guess what? We'll find other prospects in 2, 3 years. Cam Collier, Alfredo Duno, whoever it is. And guess what? In 2 years, when other guys are struggling, bring them up, see what they've got. That's cutthroat. That's the competition of baseball. I'm sorry, but that's how it is. And I want to win some games. I want to make the playoffs. And unfortunately, Matt McClain is not really helping us do that as the everyday starting second baseman. And it isn't a great situation either because Gavin Lux's defense is bad in the infield as well. I like it better in the infield than I do in the outfield, but it's not. And Santiago Espinal, again, not an everyday player as much as I do like him. It's Sal Stewart is the answer. Let's do it. But yeah, it's just that's the thing is like when you get these prospects and you think they're ready. And again, I wasn't ready to pull Sal Stewart up right away. Like, I wanted him to be in AAA for a little bit just to prove and get up used to a new level. He's done that now, so it's time to bring him up. If they wait till September, I guess that's fine. Whatever. I don't really like it, but it definitely should be something they're considering now. It's been like what, a month in AAA, almost 3 weeks in AAA, so he should be really trending towards coming up now.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, like, we're talking about all this. Really comes down to, especially for this season, right? How many wins do they need? All that kind of stuff, right? The Reds only to have a 56% chance of making the playoffs, by the way, and this was, with 40 games left. They only needed 21 out of 40. So 21 and 19 during that time period, right? We really need them to kind of pick it up a little bit more than that. They've been kind of playing at about a 500 pace. They've got a better chance. Sorry, it was 22. 22 out of 40. So 22 and 18. The Reds got to pick it up a little bit. This is kind of that time, right, when you are going to be facing some better teams that you need that extra little push. And if you remember what happened, every time they kind of brought up a new guy in 2023, things started to click. With newer guys, a lot of times it's either they figure it out or they struggle right away. You'll know quickly enough. I'm okay with them taking that risk at this point. We won't harp on the Sal Stewart stuff any more than that, but that is, I think, the way it needs to go. Injury updates. Wow, we have not even gotten to the rest of this, Joe, but I think we'll get through it. We'll be all right. Tyler Stevenson was fitted with a interesting-looking thumb cast. I think that finger is going to hurt him for a good portion of the season. It sounded like it really was only hurting him while actually catching the ball, not as much while hitting. So it sounds like they're going to fit him with this weird little porous cast thing. He's already started catching a little bit. There is a chance, Joe, I didn't realize this, but there is a chance he could be back with Lodolo on the 27th. So we will have to see. That's the way it's looking there. Lodolo is coming back as of right now on the 27th. So he will be pitching in the third game of this series for the Dodgers, at least according to the Reds broadcast. So we will see if they change that. That is the way it's looking right now. Chase Burns is throwing again tomorrow. Tito is still hopeful that they'll get him back later this season. This is trending more and more likely to me, Joe, as one of those not fully phantom injuries, but kind of them giving him a rest so that in the last 2 weeks of the season, they can kind of utilize him and use him through the rest of the playoffs. That's the way it's feeling to me. Didn't sound like the MRI was that big of a deal. It seemed like he was okay. Hopefully he will be all right and we'll get him back through the rest of the season. Rhett Lauder is officially done for the year. He's not even throwing into other stuff, so we'll stop talking about him at this point. There's a chance he'll see some minor league games near the end of the season, but he will not be on the club this year as of the way it looks right now. Ian Jabot had surgery again, unfortunately. He is out for the year. That might be the end of the Ian Jabot experiment in Cincinnati as well, unfortunately. And then lastly, Wade Miley met with Dr. Timothy Kremchek last week and is still determining a move. To me, this is just them continuing to keep him available in case if they should end up needing him, but it's not looking like they will. I think he's just sticking around to be a good guy in the clubhouse for this squad. Joe, you got any thoughts on these guys before we move on?
No, I mean, I'm excited to get Tyler Stevenson back. He's huge for this lineup and not having Trevino catch every day. I had a lot of discussions with people who think Trevino should be the starting catcher every day, and that's fine if you do. I think it might be more of a long-term play because they know they might not have Tyler Stevenson back next year. But, yeah, he's been fine. I think when he's been fine. And I would love to have that extra option because I don't want to play Will Banfield quite yet in a playoff run, to be honest, even though he did look okay the other day. Um, this is good for Lodolo to get back because I do think that he was finding something this year that maybe he hasn't found before, and it wasn't like the nasty 15 strikeout games or whatever that he had last year, but it was more consistency, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, just looking at all these injuries, honestly, just has me excited for future with Burns. We'll see how they use him, like you said, when he comes back, what that is. And Louder done for the year, but like, man, they have some options for next year too. And I hope that they just don't let their foot off the gas. Keep as many people as you can. Maybe not Nick Martinez because of the how much money he might want, but like, there's a chance you can have again like this year we have 5 or 6, 7 starters we're choosing between for the 5 spots, and that's nice to have.
They're in a prime position. I mean, bringing him back in this series, I mean, let's be real. You have Hunter Greene going in game 1 and Lodolo going in game 3. This is what a playoff series would look like. You probably wouldn't have Martinez there, in that middle game. You would probably have Abbott versus Kershaw. We'll go over that in a second or a couple minutes. But, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Lodolo is not only finding out how to pitch without striking out a ton, he is also just really learning how to go deep into games. He has 2 complete games. I know the one was only the one real one, but he was probably going 9 in that game anyways with the way it was looking. He got that shutout against Washington, which was huge. When you have guys that can become stoppers, it makes it so that your offense doesn't have to do as much. When you have Hunter Greene, Lodolo, and Abbott all being stoppers, if Brady Singer continues to pitch the way that he has been pitching, he is another stopper. You go into the playoffs with those 4 guys, and then you can move Littell and Martinez to the bullpen and Burns to the bullpen. Dude, this becomes a very scary team to have to face in the playoffs. So I am really hopeful that, that's as much why I want to make the playoffs as anything, is I actually think we're built better for the playoffs than some other teams. We're seeing the Brewers start to falter, right? Their magic that we were able to finally break, they have not been playing nearly as well. They lost 3 of 5 against the Cubs. They did not play a great series against the Giants, right? The Cubs are starting to falter a little bit too. The Dodgers are starting to falter. Really the only team in all reality, and at least in the National League, that is really trending fully upward is the Padres. Even the Phillies are losing a little bit. Losing Zach Wheeler for the season was a huge deal. I know they have Nola coming back, but he has not looked great this season. The Reds have a prime opportunity to sneak into the playoffs and really do some damage. They will be able to play with these teams based just on the pitching alone. And so that's where it's just they just got to sit down and get this done. And I think Lodolo coming back, I mean, like you said, if he keeps that blister off of his finger, I don't know if he's allowed to pitch with a Band-Aid. I kind of hope maybe he's allowed to pitch with something that will at least keep him, from getting that injury on that finger that will protect it a little bit more. Because if he does, a 6-man rotation going forward is not the worst thing, Joe, which is what we're going to talk about right now. As of what it sounds like, the Reds are planning on it being a 6-man rotation at least this week. They've got Greene going, Martinez going, then Lodolo in the Dodgers series. Littell is expected to go against the Cardinals. Abbott against the Cardinals as well in Game 2, and then Singer in Game 3 there. I don't know if they keep it the whole season or not, but that would allow for Abbott to kind of get caught up. That would allow for Lodolo, right, to not have as much pressure on that finger, and it would allow for Greene to get a little bit more time as well here. And if Littell and Martinez can kind of do what they've been doing, right, for the most part, they've had good and bad starts. This team is in a good spot to be able to use that 6-man rotation throughout the rest of this season. Get 5 more starts for everybody before you head into the playoffs, and I think we'd all be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty against 6-man rotations in general. I think for this week it's fine, but I think for long term I am as well too. Just because we have so many off days, like I said, we have the next 4 Thursdays off. I think something like that. That means pitching once a week. I think at some point the extra rest, an extra rest day, is not bad. But I do think that maybe having 2 rest days for 4 straight weeks, maybe not the greatest idea. But yeah, I do think, to what you said earlier, Rob, it is good that maybe we move Martinez to the bullpen and someone has a little bit of arm fatigue and we're like, oh, okay, Martinez, you're going to start this game.
Yep.
Or, hey, this is a must-win game at the end of the season. this lineup has a bunch of lefties, hey, Brady Singer, was your turn in the rotation, but we're going to go Nick Lodolo instead, or we're going to go Andrew Abbott because we need a lefty out there. It does give them options. It does make them better for the playoffs, and I do think that if they get that far, there will be a lot of like matchup games where it's like if Hunter Greene keeps on rolling like he has been, I think he probably will be the ace and start the first game. But that gives you a lot of options for games 2 and 3. If you're playing a team with
Mhm.
a bunch of lefties, maybe it is 2 lefties. If it is a team with a bunch of righties that hit lefties well, maybe it's Abbott and you throw in another righty. Like, you switch it up a little bit and you have take Lodolo out or take Abbott out, whichever one, and you start one of the righties instead. So the team is set up very well for matchup baseball in the playoffs, at least from the pitching side, which is really, really good. And obviously, the hitting side still scares us, but that is something to note. And I'm excited to see. Like, 6-man rotation for this week is fine. Let's see what happens when everyone's back and how people move. But the good news is they have good arms, and I think they did a good job. Didn't really need starting pitching, but with the guys having flexibility to move to the bullpen, I think it was a good move. It gives us a lot of flexibility down the stretch and a lot of matchup baseball that I think will be coming.
Yeah, they will have a decent amount of off days considering, how long it's been that they didn't. They will have a stretch of, I think it looks like 3, 6, 10 games in a row, but they only have that once the rest of this season, whereas like teams like the Mets, they've got a few of those. I think they got 2 of those specifically left. So the Reds will have plenty of off days, like you said, so maybe they can do that. I would be fine with it. I think Martinez still pitches very well out of the bullpen. I think Littell has good enough stuff to be in or out of the bullpen too. So I think you just kind of ride whoever's doing the best there. There's a chance that they do move Martinez to the bullpen, although I just don't know if you can realistically do it. I think this might be his last start to kind of keep everybody on their normal rest, essentially, right? I guess you could theoretically, because you can't move Lodolo up. I guess since Littell went only 3 innings, you could theoretically throw him in this second game against the Dodgers and then have Martinez come in relief, and you kind of just split that up with them. Then you do get, Hunter Greene on the game on Sunday. But like you said, I don't hate the 6-man rotation. I hadn't looked at the off days, but I think you're probably right. I mean, I would rather, that extra start for Greene, Lodolo, and Abbott at this point. So that would be ideal. We will have to see. The last question we'll ask before we get into the Dodgers-Cardinals series here, Joe, is what does this team have to do to get over the hump in your mind? What are one of those? Is it one thing? Is it a few things? Where are you at right now? Because they are so close, right? Forever it was they couldn't get above 3 games above 500. Then they couldn't get above 4 games above 500. Now they're playing about 5 or 6 games above 500 baseball, right? Which would get them to, what would that get them to? I think that would get them to 85-ish, 86 wins, right? Which is pretty much what we want them to be, but I don't know. I mean, where are you at? Like, what are you seeing with this squad that you think can be the key or the 2 keys to get them over this last little hump that they need to get over to get in?
I think you mentioned it earlier. It just has to be the offense evening out. Like, it's really cool that we have games where we score 23 runs against the Orioles or whatever early in the season, but we have so many people who are not playing well, and we just need them to. Not everyone's going to play well all at the same time. I'd love to have a streak like we did back in July 2023. That's not always the best. Like, that doesn't always happen. But we do need, maybe it's the lineup changing to get that going. We need more consistent runs because you look at all the stats since the All-Star break, our starting pitching is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Our bullpen is bringing its ERA down the more time goes on. So it's getting closer to, I think league average right now. It's 3.87. It's not bad. It just has to be the hit. And I would say, there are other things that needs to be cleaned up, like the defense and the base running errors. But overall, I have not been very confident in this team hitting the baseball in a while. And to me, it's felt like a lot of Ellie's making contact. Ellie's been a great player this year. TJ Friedel's been solid, but he's been more down in the last month or so. Gavin Lux hits for contact, not for much power. Austin Hayes has been struggling. And then it's just been Marte's been very, very good. And that's been pretty much it. And then Andujar came in and had that hot couple weeks, and hopefully he keeps that up. But we need to find a way to generate more runs. If it is because they're not hitting for power right now, it is small ball. If it is stealing more, because we haven't stolen as much this year. Ellie said that he thinks his leg injury is fine now. I don't know. We need a way to generate runs, and if it get on base, get him in, whether it's home runs, get the power back going, whether it is moving him over. That's to me is the biggest thing, because I just don't know how much longer our starting pitching can put up these stats and hold up. Like, they're awesome, and I love them, but we have a lot of young guys who get fatigued at the end of the season. We have a lot of guys like Nick Martinez with a 4.5 ERA, who's done a really good job moving back and forth, but you don't always want him as your starter. Brady Singer's done well recently, but he sometimes has some really bad starts. It's just we need that, and I don't know exactly what it's going to need. Maybe it's a Will Benson batting seventh, eighth, or ninth, and just bringing a little bit of pop to the bottom of the order. Maybe it is Austin Hayes figuring things out and playing better against righties as well, because he hasn't done that well recently as well. I don't know what it is, but it has to be one of those things stepping up, because we aren't in a great position. We still have one of the toughest schedules in baseball down the stretch. We have our game and a half behind the Mets. The Mets have a lot more talent than us in a lot of different ways, and they went out at deadline and they want to make the playoffs. Like, they're very aggressive, and we were decently aggressive. We got some good players, but like, we are playing an uphill battle here as a small market team, obviously, and that to me needs to be sorted out, because our pitching is great. And again, defensive base running, I expect them to be somewhat better moving forward. But if we're going to be bad at defense and possibly base running as well, then you have to hit. And I think they're in a tough spot here, because at this point in the season, to change someone's swing or say, hey, swing for more power or whatever is very tough. But you also don't want to be the team who's only doing small ball. It worked for the Tigers last year. That was great. But it's a tough line of like, hey, the best thing is probably to hit more home runs, but it's hard to generate that naturally. So that's what I would say, Rob. Hopefully that can, like, do get like everyone going on a tear, like you said earlier. Maybe you think they have one more in them, or they have one more streak in them, where they all start hitting the ball again together. But if they don't, they need to find a way to generate runs by bunting, base stealing, trick plays. I don't care, anything.
Yeah, I think there are two things for me. The one is, I think they have to do the little things right. You know what I mean? I think for this team, when they're struggling to produce runs, you have to not make errors in the field. You have to get runners over in certain situations. You have to get them in through sac flies, through, again, fielder's choices, whatever it may be. Those are the little things that you can do that can give you those edges, right? You need to have a little bit of luck, right? I think that's part of it. But for me, it's just doing the little more controllable things correctly. You might sting the ball. I mean, again, Matt McClain yesterday had, I think, 2 or 3 line drives. One of them went right to Perdomo. The other one went right over his head. And then he had the nice little sacrifice bunt to get the runners over to kind of help create that big inning. You got to just do these little things. You can't make errors. You got to be in the right position. You got to keep your head in the game. I think if they do those things, they can make it happen. My other one is going to be, they have to have one more like 8-2 out of 10 games, or like 5 or 6 game win streak in them. They just have to, because they're too much like win 3, lose 3, right? Win 2, lose 2. Like, they've got to find just one stretch over these last, how many games do we have left, Joe? Let me look at scoreboard.
We're 68, 63, so that's
131.
31.
So we have 31 games left, right? So they need to have at least one more streak where out of these, what would it be, 10 series left or so, right? They need to find one where they sweep a series and add, 2 games on either before or after that, at least. I think that would be enough, because the Mets schedule, like, everybody's talking about how easy it is. Like, they still have some pretty big games, including a 3-game series against us. The Mets, by the way, Joe, they are not a good road team. And the Mets have more away games than home games. I went and checked last night. Throughout the rest of the season, they are 28-37 away and 41-24 at home. So, it's not the best schedule. We all know that. We're all a little bit worried about it, but like this Mets team, because that's really who we're facing right now. They have not really come together. They are getting some injuries. Like, they have some guys like Lindor, I think, is playing through an injury right now. They have the Phillies at home. They have a Marlins team that has been very good at home. Then they go on the road for a huge, huge stretch in September. Joe, they only have 9 games at home in September. The rest of their games are on the road. They have the Tigers, they have us, they have the Phillies, the Cubs, and the Marlins, all to end the season. Their only quote-unquote easy games for all of September are against the Nationals at home. That is it. Otherwise, they're playing the Padres and the Rangers at home in their other 2 series at home. So, if the Reds can kind of survive this stretch, they are in a very, very, very good position to overtake and just have that one little streak that we were talking about, Joe, where they could really make it happen. As a counter, by the way, the Reds have 12 games at home, which may not seem like a lot, but that extra series can be absolutely crucial, especially against the Pirates there at the end of the season. So, wanted to throw that in there. Let's get into Dodgers Cardinals. It'll be Hunter Greene versus Emmett Sheehan, Nick Martinez versus Clayton Kershaw, and Nick Lodolo versus Shohei Ohtani. Sheehan and Ohtani have not been great. Ohtani's really still not been going full amounts of games. He's had some okay games, some not. Kershaw's been solid. He's crafty, right? But we are definitely not facing like the best of the best in terms of the Dodgers pitching. The Dodgers have also been relatively streaky. They lost their lead that felt insurmountable to the Padres over the weekend. They were able to claw back a win on that Sunday, but they lost 2 of 3 against them. They lost 2 of 4 against the Rockies. Before sweeping the Padres, they had lost 4 in a row, 3 against the Angels. They got swept by them at home or in Los Angeles or Anaheim, whatever. So this team hasn't been playing necessarily their best baseball right now. Ohtani's still been good, but everybody else has been kind of okay over the last 2 weeks or so. Teoscar Hernandez is batting 209 lately. Andy Pages, who started off really well, 200. Dalton Rushing, 176. It's been Mookie Betts who's been getting some hits, Freeman and Ohtani, and that's really about it. Even Ohtani has kind of cooled off quite a bit lately. So we are coming into Dodger Stadium in a pretty good spot here, Joe, but you still have to take care of business. How are you feeling as we head into this series?
Yeah, Dodgers are a team that, they're 74-55 and pretty much locked to make the playoffs, but they've underperformed for how much talent they have, how much payroll they have. It's mostly, starting pitching's been some ups and downs this year, but they're kind of like settling in, especially like Clayton Kershaw down to a 3.13 ERA this season. But that bullpen is bad, and that's what makes them give up runs. They have, I think, a 4.17 ERA as a bullpen, which ranks, I think, 20th in the league. And that's just tough. So I think this team is very talented, but as you said, not playing their best baseball. They have a couple of injuries, both the starting pitchers, the relief pitchers, to mostly guys who aren't the best players, at least the top of the order guys. So this is a winnable series. You would not want to have another matchup in terms of what they're getting pitching-wise. Yes, you get Clayton Kershaw. That's scary, 3.13 ERA. He still has it. We do have better success against lefties, but Emmett Sheehan isn't the best. Shohei hasn't pitched the best, like you said. They're not going far in games. Get to that bullpen in that third game where we have Nick Lodolo going up. The sad part for the series is the Dodgers hit righties and lefties equally well, so there's not like there's an advantage to having 2 righties going up or even having Lodolo in the third game against them. But yeah, this is a series that the Reds can win. I think it'll probably be between they'll either get 1 or 2 wins. I don't think they'll be swept. I don't think they'll sweep the Dodgers. I'm going to go 1 and 2 here. They usually do play up to the competition. But after how last week went with the sloppy play, I don't know if they'll be able to fix that. Might need to come home to get that fixed.
I'm going to go 2 and 1, and here's why. I do think that having Greene and Lodolo back, I think is going to do a lot for this team. I think Martinez may get rocked, but he may also just have, that game where he goes 6 innings and gives up 2, and you're like, oh, what the hell? Like, he's playing really well. But here's my main reason why. I don't think Sheehan has been very good, and specifically Ohtani is kind of getting tired. Joe, against us, He did give up 2 runs in 3 innings pitched. The Reds had him on the ropes, and they took him out of the game before it could get bad. St. Louis, he had a good start, but then against the Angels, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, including a home run in 4 1/3. In Colorado, he got 4 innings. He got rocked. 9 hits, 5 earned runs given up. He only struck out 3. He's not gone above 80 pitches yet this entire season. And if you're trying to get into that bullpen, Shohei's going to give you that opportunity, right? Like, they just are not letting him go more than 4 innings, essentially. So I'm going to trust the Reds to get to him. There's a weird thing in me that feels like they might hit Clayton Kershaw. I don't know why, but I just feel like there might be something there where they're just going to hit him. So I'm really hoping that they win tonight with the Greene versus Sheehan, matchup here. But then I really think they're going to split one of those next 2. So, and then after that, they finally get to come home. So that's where I'm at with it. I feel like they can pull this one out, and that would be awesome. I mean, going 5-4 on your, big West Coast trip would be huge, huge for this team. And there's a possibility, based on what happens with the Mets, that if they go 2-1 this week, they could be a half game up in the wild card. So that's my hope. They know what they're playing for. We'll see what happens. Cardinals. It'll be, so far at least, it looks like it's going to be Littell versus Matthew Liberatore, Andrew Abbott versus Michael McGreevy, and Brady Singer versus Palante and Andre Palante. Joe, take me through what you're seeing. They have struggled a little bit as well. They have not been playing their best baseball whatsoever. Their last 10, they are 3-7. They just lost to the Rays in what was a weird weekend series where they played Thursday, Friday, Sunday because of a football game apparently for Tampa, which was strange, I guess. We will be getting them after 4 games versus the Pirates, who have been playing a lot better recently as well. I don't know. Feeling okay on this one, but where are you at?
Yeah, this is a team that has outperformed talent on their roster this whole season. It is, you just look down the lineup and you're like, why is that guy there? How are they doing this? And honestly, like, the record is probably better than it should be. They have only scored 573 runs and they've allowed 605. They're 3 games below 500. You think that big of a difference. Maybe a couple more losses in the loss column there, but a team that stayed relatively healthy, that's huge. And I think there's some guys have stepped up and had better years than we've thought, and that's what the Cardinals do. Excited to see former Red legend Garrett Hampson on the roster. Let's hope he plays a lot against us.
Yeah,
good for him. But yeah, I think this is the series where we got to put our foot down against the Cardinals and be like, no, it's over. You guys stink. We're done with you.
Mm-hmm.
Our pitching matchups are favorable. Now, they do have a good bullpen.
Yep.
Surprisingly. But if the Pirates can get to the bullpen, hopefully, and tire them out, that'd be huge for us. So we'll be watching that a little bit, too. But their starting pitchers we're going against are not good. They all have above a 4 ERA. Palante has above a 5 ERA. It is not a good matchup for them. So I'm going to say 3-0. So we sweep them. And I don't feel comfortable with that because of the Cardinals. But if this team does what it should on paper, I do think winning 1 game in Los Angeles is what it should be on paper. And I do think that they should sweep the St. Louis Cardinals and win 4 games this week out of 6.
I have them going 4-2 as well. I think they'll find a way to lose a game here. They shouldn't, though. Palante, Liberatore, and McGreevy are not great. If you can get to the bullpen early in that Liberatore game, I think you are in a great spot. Batting averages against 268 with a 1.41 whip for Palante, 1.29 whip for Liberatore, 265 batting average against. McGreevy, 1.18 whip, 268 batting average against. Those are some of the worst that I've seen all season for guys with as many starts as some of these guys have. The Reds are going to have to hit with runners in scoring position in this series to win. I think, like you said, now is the time. If they want to make a statement, they go into the home, or they come back home, and they take care of business against a Cardinals team that has, frankly, just not been very good. They are another team that is good at home, terrible on the road. They are 8 games under 500 on the road right now. They are 29-37. You you gotta take advantage of it. You gotta go and you have to take care of them. They're also 10 games under 500 against teams with above 500. So they're not a great team. And so we will have to hope that the Reds can go in and take care of business. I would love to see them do what they're doing. They're also 16-17 in the Central, which is not great, especially for this team specifically. So, the Reds need to go in. They need to take care of business, and we'll see what happens. 4-2 either way would be great. If they somehow find a way to 5-1, I think you and I are both sitting here like, okay, this team is in it. They're probably in a playoff spot with a 5-1 week. I will say that at that point. 4-2, we'll see. Maybe. Very possible depending on how the Mets play. But 5-1, I would say there's a fairly good chance they are in the wild card, potentially a game and a half up even, based on what we're going to see here with the Mets this week. So that's going to wrap it up, Joe. You got any words of wisdom before we sign off here?
Yeah, go Phillies. They're playing the Mets to start the week. That's good for us. So we'll see if they can take some losses. We are the 6th team in Major League Baseball history to get 11,000 wins. So everyone, have a round of applause here. We're up against a lot of teams who have some history, like the Cardinals are up there, and a lot of big market teams as well. This news this week in terms of baseball, Major League Baseball realignment is possible, and the commissioner's been talking about that, especially if they add more teams. So look for us in the future to maybe be in a division with Nashville's team, with maybe the Guardians if they switch leagues, or maybe like the White Sox and Cubs, Tigers, all of it's in play, Pirates as well. So I'm interested to see how that would work out. I guess like 8 4-division leagues or conferences, divisions, whatever, would be the move. So that'd be interesting to see how they do that.
NFL-like.
Yeah, pretty much NFL-like. And then, just one other thing. There was an AJ Pierzynski podcast where they were talking about why steals are down. And honestly, it was more just like, hey, analytics are really killing the team aspect of the sport. Like I talked about earlier, like some of the guys who are singles hitters for us, they don't get moved in. They don't get hit in because we don't have a lot of power right now. And that's hurting their WAR, making them look worse than they actually are. He was bringing up the point because we stole a lot of bases last year. We haven't stolen a lot of bases this year. And part of it, Ellie's injury, I don't think they want to run him too much, and he's played through it. But they basically are saying agents are telling the players that, you have to do what's best for you. You don't steal bases because if you get caught and your percentage goes down, then it's going to mean less for you in contract negotiations. And baseball really has become kind of like a money grab in some ways with some of the agents out there. So, you might see guys who don't want to hit it to the right side of the infield and taken out to move a runner over from second to third. You might not want to see guys to hit sac flies or to steal bases, and our stolen bases are down. So I thought it was kind of relevant to our team specifically because we just haven't stolen a lot of bases. And some of it is Terry's direction, I think, but also, Ellie's injury, but also this too. I think we're getting to the point where it's guys need to be all in to do whatever it takes to help the team win. And that's something I thought was interesting for our discussions today, specifically. And then Big Sugar, good nickname and everything. I have had some people tell me that he looks like he buys high schoolers beer, and I was like, you can't say that to me because I can't get out of my head. So, but I use that as motivation, Big Sugar. I want you to have a good long career, be good for us, I think excited for this week of baseball. Let's make some ground up.
Yeah, absolutely. We are still right there in the hunt. Baseball realignment would be weird. I think we are very much heading down a path for a potential half season. Coming up here with the talks of, floors, ceilings, all that kind of stuff in terms of the economy of the league. I wonder how that will affect the Reds. A lot of their players are under contract for a long time, so we will have to see, kind of how they handle, the talks of that and the addition potentially of 2 new teams. They wouldn't come in for at least 3 years, even if they signed it in this year. They'd have to make the stadiums, get all the other stuff figured out that it takes to get a new team in there. But I guess it seems like baseball's happy with whatever Oakland's doing and with whatever Tampa Bay's doing, enough to where they're just like, screw it, we'll just bring in 2 new teams anyways. Baseball is doing well. Numbers are up generally across the board for viewership, and I think baseball's actually as fun as it's been in a while, personally. Not even just because the Reds are playing well, but I think a lot of baseball's been really fun to watch this year. So we will have to see. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this one. Hopefully next week we'll be coming back to you guys with smiles. Anything less than 3 wins next week, I will probably be very, very sad and upset. So we'll see what happens. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this one. So from our house here's, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.